Hello and welcome. Today I'm talking with Adam Kraut, the executive director from the Second Amendment Foundation. And today we're going to discuss the 50th anniversary celebration of SAF and everything about the past, present, and future. Adam, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It's really a pleasure to have you here. It's always nice to talk with you, business, non-business, and everything in between. So thank you for your time. I know you're a very busy person. Um,
Yeah, happy to do it.
so you came on board with SAF, was it last year or the year before officially? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, it was November 2022, so a
Okay.
little over a year and a half ago at this point.
Okay, perfect. So you're obviously well acquainted with and know SAF's history, and I'm sure a lot of the history and everything that they did in the past, you know, levied on you making a decision to work for the organization. Going forward into the next 50 years, we'll say, of SAF, what do you see for the future of SAF, or what do you hope to achieve? Because you're part of this now. You're, as you said, part of the team that's going to take it from here to the next generation and the generation after that. What do you want to see for the future of SAF? What is your view?
So I think there's a couple things. I think, from a programmatic standpoint, uh, I would like us to be stronger in the education realm, and that's something we're actively working on now. I think education, generally speaking, coming from organizations in this space is lacking. I don't think that organizations currently do a great job of connecting with people and explaining the why behind it. It's very easy to say, well, constitutionally this is protected. It's another thing to explain the why in a manner in which somebody who's willing to receive the information can take and digest and understand and then be able to use themselves, whether it's at a very elementary level or if they're interested in some more, let's call it advanced learning. So the educational component is something that I want to do better at. We certainly do it now, but I think we can do, like a lot of things, generally in life, do it better than it's currently being done. As I said before, the litigation programs are bread and butter. That's going to continue. Certainly, as with everything, that all depends on the courts. However, right now the courts are pretty favorable in most places and not a bad place to be. And certainly, this composition of the Supreme Court would lend itself to a potentially good ruling for any Second Amendment challenges that make their way up there. However, I would say that that's potentially one election away from being destroyed. And it's not even with the Supreme Court necessarily. You get another 4 years of a Democratic appointee, and a number of district court judges and circuit court judges get replaced. Um, we've seen, in the courts that a lot of times there are district court judges who rule against the challengers bringing Second Amendment challenges. The circuit courts don't necessarily overturn them, and then cert's not granted. So even if the composition of the Supreme Court remains unchanged, if you get a number of bad appointees at the lower level courts, you have a potential for bad case law to exist for any number of time. And then, of course, if the Supreme Court changes downstream to an unfavorable structure, it could very well make this not a viable pathway long term for some of that stuff. In which case, we're currently looking at other things as to where we can provide value and services to the Second Amendment community to ensure that if the court system does not remain a good venue long term, how else we can, accomplish our mission. And that's not to say that we would just abandon litigation, and we would just have to certainly be a lot more thoughtful in the manner in which we do it, as to not create bad case law to potentially, create problems long term downstream when things, change.
Yeah, first of all, let me go back on the legal front. We're not done with our battle yet. The other side obviously doesn't give
Sure.
up. They keep doubling down, but we still, we need to win an important case at the Supreme Court dealing with, semi-automatic, firearms that the other side likes to demonize as so-called assault rifles, or assault weapons, and we also need to win one protecting magazine capacity, and we still have to worry about sensitive places, and and more cementing the right to carry, around the country. And of course, these 59 cases we're working on around the country right now that are in court are all leading up to that. So there's a whole lot of work left to be done there. That seeds have been planted, but the trees still need to grow. And I think the foundation can expand out into a lot more areas with a lot of new people, on our staff. We're very talented, and I'm very glad that I know that when I retire, so to speak, which is going to be sooner rather than later at this point, after
Okay.
50 years, that the foundation is going to be in very, very good hands. And so, it's a bit that's taken a lot of pressure off me over the last few years of where we're going to go when I'm no longer around. And we're still going to be around, and we're going to grow because people have great new ideas and lots of talent. And lots of things have opened up to allow us to get our messages out better than 50 years ago. 50 years ago, there was no internet, there weren't ways to reach people as quickly and get messages out. And so we've now set up our investigative journalism project, which is growing tremendously in getting information out to people and uncovering a lot of ugly things from our opponents on the other side. The lamestream media, so to speak, or the legacy media doesn't like to talk about because it sets their agenda. But now we've got a good great research arm as well in some of those areas. So it's kind of exciting. And the next 50 years, I think, are going to actually be a whole lot bigger and better for the Second Amendment Foundation.
Yeah, sure. So, one, I got no plans to go anywhere. I consider myself pretty blessed to be able to get to do what I do, for the people and with the people that I get to work with. I mean, Alan and Julianne have put together such a great organization, and to be able to now work with, Adam and Lauren and Pierce and the folks that are going to be kind of representing the new generation, the 2.0 of SAF, so to speak. It's definitely a really exciting team to work for, and work with, and I don't plan on going anywhere. The things that I think are exciting and that we're looking forward to kind of taking SAF into the future is, transitioning part of, SAF's presence, which traditionally has been in kind of traditional media, and in the print and mail game, and kind of taking it into the new century. We're doing a lot of updates with saf.org. We've got a brand new website that we launched at the beginning of this year. We're doing a whole lot of new social media presence. And what we're really looking to do is make sure that, we're widening the tent at every opportunity possible. We're making sure that, as many people out there that are probably already predisposed and inclined to really appreciate and support what it is that SAF does, make sure that they know that we're out there, and that we're fighting the fights that we are, and that we'd be thrilled to have their membership and their support.
I am very, very, very proud of what Alan accomplished, and I'm very proud of how he brought his dream to life.
So we're happy with the current state of affairs at SAF. That's great. And then I guess just two more things here is, what are your hopes for the future? What do you see? Where do you see SAF going?
I play such a peripheral role with SAF these days. I think that it will go in places that it goes. I'm very interested in this upcoming election because it has huge ramifications. We can potentially can impact who that head of the delegation is, and who from Justice and the Department of State are on the delegation. We need to get an ATF director. We need an ATF director. And if we get the president who's interested in listening to us, that is my primary goal. My primary goal. We came very close, but we went into it too late. the last time, but, you know, I've been talking to people about this, and we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get a good ATF director.
Well, I hope that we have a lot of tomorrows. Let's get that out of the way. We've got a dynamic new team coming in here. Adam Kraut is the executive director. I think he's already shown that he hit the ground running. We've got Lauren Hill and Matt Coffey, who's taking over some of the communication stuff, and eventually he's going to take it all over. Sorry, Matt. That'll keep you awake at night. But I think that where we will be going, we'll eventually see more Supreme Court rulings coming down on the side of the Second Amendment as protective of a fundamental individual right. For years, as many people in the gun community know, the Second Amendment was regarded as something of a black sheep in the family. You know, we didn't want them around. Yeah, we see them at holidays, but go away, stay out of here the rest of the time. But it really is a right, and it's just as equal a right as what is protected by the First, the Fourth, the Fifth, you know, all the other tenets of the Bill of Rights. So I'm hopeful, and I'm confident, really, that as we strive ahead, we're going to see more victories that will further cement the Second Amendment as a full fundamental right. And, you know, we'll get away from these efforts, not ever entirely, but we'll get away from some of the efforts by people who, you know, like Gavin Newsom or Joe Biden. They've spent their careers really trying to erase the Second Amendment. And ultimately, I think the courts are going to tell them, no, sorry, you tried, you failed. You can't do this. We have a constitution, and we're going to live by it. And that drives the other side nuts, really does.
What is your message to SAF members? What's your message to the public at large? What would you say to them?
So I think as far as SAF members and supporters, first of all, you know, thank you. Without you folks, this work would not be possible. I would not be sitting here being able to do this on your behalf. So thank you for being a member of SAF. Thank you for supporting SAF financially and through other means as well. But I think beyond that, the general message I would say is, you know, I would have an optimistic view. Of course, you're going to get bad court decisions. There are going to be road bumps, but generally speaking, I think the majority of the population is not in a position where they favor gun control. I think a lot of people may not be vocal about their position, and I think there's a lot of people that are in the middle where they're not in a camp that, oh, we need to ban guns. And I think that they can be talked to and, you know, reasoned with, and they can understand why the right to keep and bear arms is in fact very important. I think you saw some of that during COVID, where with all the shutdowns and then some of the anarchy that happened after and the lack of police response, that people realized, okay, you know, the ability to defend oneself is incredibly important. And you had a lot of first-time gun buyers. I think the thing to keep in mind with those people is you have to make sure that they understand the why, and it's not just simply, oh, I got mine, so now I don't care. They need to be, whether it's actively or at least passively, part of the solution as far as preserving the right for future generations.
Well, first of all, to the members, donors, and contributors, I want to say without them, we couldn't do what we do. So they deserve a lot of credit for our accomplishments, because without their work behind the scenes, so to speak, and helping fund us, we couldn't do what we do. And so they deserve a lot of the credit, should take a lot of the credit for our work, because they're the, you know, foundation that makes it work for us. I think they should be very proud of all the accomplishments that they've helped us with, and they're only going to get bigger and better, and we're only going to get stronger as time goes on. For the general public, you know, what's interesting, is there's a lot of people out there that don't own firearms, but are starting to become aware from a lot of our work that we do that the right to keep arms is important, even if they choose not to own a firearm, because it's important for them to have their neighbor having a firearm, because if criminals that are omnipotent governments realize that there's an armed populace out there, it keeps everybody safer and freer.
I think the membership, our message to them is our legal program is strong and it will continue to stay strong. I think if I could ask the membership of anything, I know that question isn't exactly what you were posing to me, but helping us, promote the organization and getting the message and the understanding out there. One of the pieces of our mission is to promote a better understanding of our constitutional heritage, and the reason why we can privately own firearms. If we can educate our members and our members can then go re-educate, not the anti-gunners, but just maybe the non-gunners, people who are a little bit agnostic in the area. I think that would be something that we're working to educate them. And if they can then turn around and educate others, I think that would be the best case scenario for us in growth.
Well, I'm really a big advocate of voting. And I think that if all the gun owners in the United States would vote every time, whether it's a local election or state legislative elections, governor, and for sure Congress and the president, we would never have to worry about people trying to push just horribly stupid gun control laws down our throats. They would look at a gun issue and say, whoops, I can't vote for this because 30% of people in my district have a shotgun in the closet, or they have a hunting license, or they're licensed to carry. That would send a message to our elected officials that, we have a Second Amendment, don't screw with it. And beyond that, don't screw with us. The disappointment that I have is that so many gun owners don't vote. And I've been at gun shows over the years. I've had people walk up to me and say, I don't vote. Get out there and vote. Oh, my vote doesn't count. Well, sure it does. It only doesn't count when you don't use it. You may be on the losing side sometimes, but democracy is a pretty tender child, and you've got to treat it with the kind of attention that an adult parent does, because this is our country. We own it. It doesn't belong to the politicians. They work for us, not the other way around. And you have to let your voice be heard. And frankly, that's really the message that I want, not just Second Amendment Foundation members or Citizens Committee members, but gun owners all over the country. You got to get up off the couch and you got to vote, because when you do that, you're not just casting a ballot in some race for dog catcher or whatever. You're sticking up for your rights. And a lot of people have died to protect the rights that we've got. We owe it to them to get out there and exercise those rights at every opportunity.
Sure. So I think, to our members, I think the most important thing that we can do now is keep our foot on the gas. We saw a pretty significant shift in the winds with the Bruin decision, and we went from losing a whole lot of cases and getting a whole lot of very frustrating and wrong decisions from a lot of district and circuit courts to starting to get the right outcomes from these courts. And we're starting to win. And we're starting to win regularly and repeatedly, and we're really starting to make significant headway here. Unfortunately, part of the psychology of that is when you tell the members that we're winning over and over again, people get complacent, and people start to take these things for granted. And the absolute critical thing right now is we got to keep our foot on the gas. We got to keep the donations coming in. We got to keep the litigation rolling. because you never know when the winds could change again. So that's the most important thing, I think, for our members right now, is we have to keep our eye on the prize, and we got to continue to push, and not get complacent, especially in some of the jurisdictions where we are seeing some significant wins. We got to remember that there's still some big chunks of the country that need our help. You know, New Jersey and California, Hawaii, Massachusetts, they still need us. We're not done yet. We
Yep.
got to keep fighting. And, then, in terms of talking to kind of, the community more broadly, I think making sure that the message gets out there, and that we make sure that we're explaining to people that, the Second Amendment and civil rights more broadly is not a culture war issue. It's not a partisan issue. This is an everybody issue. And, we are absolutely hamstringing ourselves if we limit ourselves to only 50% of the population. It's considering them the ones that we should be the ones to speak to. I think the natural right of self-defense is really, it's an everyone issue. And I think that, if we continue to talk to more people about it, and we make sure that we're crafting a message that is appealable and approachable to everybody, I think that's really the way forward for, the ultimate protection of our civil rights, is making sure that, it's not a partisan issue. It's something that, everybody should be able to appreciate. And we want to make sure that we can, be out there to talk to everybody in a way that they're ready to hear. I think that's a critical thing that, in the 2A space, there are lots of opportunities for us to do better, and something that we're going to be looking to work on moving forward.
The reason that I do this is because the right to self-defense, the natural right to self-defense and defense of others in your family, is a civil right. And everyone should enjoy that civil right. That's my thing. It is a civil right. And internationally, we talk about it in terms of it's a natural right.
You've had an opportunity to work very closely with Alan since coming on board, and it's very much so impossible to talk about SAF and the 50 years of SAF without bringing up Alan. What would you tell Alan if you wanted to send him a message privately, or what would you say to him that maybe you never said that you want to say? What's your message to Alan? And celebrating 50 years of success of his vision too.
So that's a that's a tough question. I've had the opportunity and I guess privilege to know Alan for a couple of years at this point. And it's I'll give you a little bit of an anecdotal story here. I was in law school, and I joined both SAF and the NRA as a life member back in 2013, I want to say. And I saw value in both groups, and I always kind of looked at it as NRA were the guys up on Capitol Hill lobbying, and SAF were the guys in the courtroom doing all the legal work. And I can remember seeing interviews with Alan and just being kind of in awe that somebody like that existed. And then I met him as I went to SHOT Show and through a couple other things. And then at my former employer, I worked rather closely with him, coordinating, organizational strategies and legal campaigns. And it was so surreal to me to go from somebody who saw this man on TV and being in awe of him to talking to him on a regular basis. And he's just a regular guy like everybody else, in the sense of he's a person. Alan's incredibly bright. His vision and his just how much he cares about the issue is second to none. He lives and breathes this stuff, and I would expect until his last breath, this will be, his life's work and greatest achievement. And I think what I would say is, you really have built an incredible organization with a vision and a lot of hard work. And certainly you didn't do it alone. Julianne was a big part in getting SAF to where it was, and all the other people throughout the years who were part of the team. But I think his vision for what it could be and how it could be effective. I only hope I can have, if I get halfway there, I would be thrilled. So I guess my message would be that, your vision for this is an inspiration. And I apologize about the long rambling way to get to that.
What would I tell him? I would tell him, I guess I'd say, Alan, we've had a good run. It's amazing. I can't believe from where we started to where we've come. And it seems like 48 years, and sometimes it seems like 10.
I think Alan deserves a huge thank you. I adore him, and he's been great in educating me and teaching me in these last 16 months that I've been here. But thank you for having the foresight and the vision and the guts to move this forward. It's extremely important organization to have in this industry to fight for our Second Amendment rights. And without him having all those things, and in the last 50 years growing this organization, we wouldn't be where we are today. So thank you is what I would say to him.
Well, probably I'd tell him, you have done just marvelous work. And we're getting into a period, I think, of change. And although I know you just thrive on this stuff, Alan, it may be time for you to sit down and relax and have a soda pop or something, and barbecue a hot dog or roast a marshmallow and just kind of watch and see what goes on for the next 50 years. If I had to bet on it, I'd say Alan's going to be around for quite a long time, making the other side crazy. But I think one thing, you and I, Alan, have become a formidable team out there, and I really appreciated the time that we've spent together. We've kicked a lot of butt, and I said kicked, not kissed. And it's been just a fun time, really, working with you and the crew that we've had here. I think it's been a great opportunity for me that I've been given to really strut my stuff out there.
Sure. I mean, I think the message is certainly one of gratitude and appreciation. Alan laid the groundwork for all of us here. He's been doing this for longer than I've been alive. Without him, we wouldn't be anywhere where we are in the space. Obviously thank you to Alan and to Julianne, and to Dave and the rest of the team, that have built this legacy that, we are, as the newbies come in and taken over, we're thrilled to be able to, kind of stand on the shoulders of the giants here and take the baton and continue to run with it. But, certainly we'd be nothing, nowhere close to where we are now without the work that they've been putting in for the last 50 years.
Sure. And then do you have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to share with everyone before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you to everybody. We've seen, such an outpouring of support over the last couple years, especially with all of the new programs that we're going to be launching and getting everything, kind of dialed in moving forward into the future. We're really excited to be kind of talking to new people and making sure that, new people find out about the legacy of SAF and realize that, there are, options in the 2A advocacy space that maybe they didn't realize were out there. That we're doing, good professional real work out there in the courts, but we also like to have some fun on the memes as well. And we're really interested in hearing the voices of the new generation of Second Amendment supporters that are going to be joining us. And we think that there's a lot of good things to come and a lot of big wins coming down the pike for us. So great time to be part of the space.
So as we're celebrating this 50th anniversary of Second Amendment Foundation, we have Gun Rights Policy Conference that's coming up. That's in September, correct?
Yes.
So I'll be seeing you there in San Diego. I'm looking forward to that. It's always great to hang out with you. And anything else that you would like to say or leave off with before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only other thing I would add is that, it's my goal to steward the organization in the best manner that I think is possible, be fiscally responsible with donors' dollars, hire staff that are dedicated individuals who want to be part of a team and share a vision and work hard to get there. I think, through all of that, with some mentorship from people who have been around, because I don't have all the answers. I know that, but I do have some ideas. So I think through all that, we'll be able to, continue to just build on the foundation that Alan built, and bring SAF to yet another level that is only possible through, adding more brains to the mix and seeing what the future holds and trying some stuff.
Adam, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations to all the work that you guys are doing over at the Second Amendment Foundation. And hoping you have nothing but the utmost of success going forward. And I look forward to watching the organization continue to succeed, and having an opportunity to record it and talk about it as we go forward.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate your time.
Take care.